Hello everyone, we are from Group 8 consisting of 3 members, Tanti Mustari, Aditya Pratama, and Rizky Dwi Permadi, Department of Energy Security, Faculty of Defense Management, Indonesian Defense University. Lecturer Mr. Nugroho Adisa Songko will discuss Streamline 2, Term 3. This presentation examines the strategic role of Battery Energy Storage System or BESS in enabling rapid post-disaster energy recovery in Indonesia. Indonesia's geographic conditions and high exposure to natural hazards require energy systems that are not only reliable, but also resilient and rapidly deployable by integrating solar and wind power with advanced thermal runaway mitigation and a hybrid lithium-iron phosphate hydrogen dispatch strategy. BESS can provide fast, clean, and secure electricity during emergency condition. This study draws on comparative case study from West Sumatra, Aceh, and the Tohoku region of Japan to demonstrate how energy storage can strengthen energy security, shorten recovery time, and support critical infrastructure in disaster-affected areas. This slide, Indonesia Disaster Energy Crisis, highlight the structural energy challenge Indonesia faced during natural disaster. The 2025 flash flood in Aceh and West Sumatra revealed critical weaknesses in the country's emergency energy response, where more than 6,500 villages were disconnected from the electricity grid forever 72 hours. The current reliance on diesel generator is costly, logistically complex in remote and treaty region, and environmentally unsustainable due to high fuel consumption and carbon emission. As a result, recovery processes are often delayed by 1 to 2 weeks. In this context, battery energy storage system present a strategic opportunity by providing autonomous power supply for up to 72 hours, significantly reducing fuel dependency and enabling real-time monitoring for faster and more coordinated disaster recovery operation. International case study. This slide presents several international case studies that demonstrate how battery energy storage systems have been successfully deployed to support post-disaster energy resilience. In Japan, the Tohoku Sekisui plant implemented a 2 megawatt-hour BESS integrated with solar PV, which enabled business countries planning reduced peak demand by 200 kilowatt and maintained 99.09% operational uptime after the 2011 earthquake. In the United States, lithium-ion BESS combined with a photovoltaic system were used to support wildfire command centers, ensuring uninterrupted power for critical emergency operation. China, meanwhile, has scaled vanadium redox flow battery system to achieve long-duration energy storage at the grid level, addressing pro-launch outage scenarios. Conversely, the slow recovery experience in Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria highlight the consequence of limited energy storage capacity. These international experiences are highly referenced to Indonesia, relevant particularly for disaster prone regions such as Sumatra, where microgrid-based BESS integration can significantly improve recovery speed and critical infrastructure resilience. National energy security context. This slide places BESS within the broader context of Indonesia's national energy security framework. According to the RUPTL 2025 until 2034, Indonesia targets a 23% renewable energy mix, a projected electricity demand of 108,000 1,800 terawatt-hour and the development of new baseload capacity including nuclear power. However, the current system remains highly vulnerable with more than 60% depend on fossil fuel, fragile electricity distribution network in Treaty region and BESS accounting for less than 1% of installed capacity. By integrated BESS with solar and wind power, Indonesia can strengthen energy availability through source diversification, improve affordability as battery costs continue to decline, and ensure accessibility via portable and microgrid-based electrification. In addition, BESS contributes to acceptability and sustainability by supporting clean energy development. Regulatory compliance and the net zero 260 target, while also reinforcing national defense by reducing resilience on external energy supply chains. Core technical challenge, battery capacity duration trade-off. This slide addresses on the most critical technical challenge in post-disaster BESS deployment, namely the trade-off between battery capacity, discharge duration, and overall system cost. Lithium-ion phosphate batteries offer high cycle life, relatively low cost, and strong safety characterism, making them suitable for emergency microgrid application with typical duration of 4 to 8 hours. Sodium-ion battery provide a more cost-sensitive alternative, particularly where supply chain security and material availability are concerned. However, both technology are limited in supporting extended outage beyond 24 hours. For long-duration resilience, flow batteries such as vanadium redox system offer significantly higher cycle life and discharge duration of up to 48 hours, albeit a higher capital cost. Therefore, a hybrid architecture combining LFP battery with full battery of hydrogen-based energy storage in required to balance rapid response capability with extended autonomy in post-disaster scenarios. Thermal runaway risk management. This slide focused on thermal runaway as the most critical safety risk in the development of battery energy storage system. Particularly in post-disaster environments, thermal runaway can be triggered by overcharging short circuit of mechanical damage caused by flood, debris, and extreme environmental conditions. Early warning indicators include abnormal increases in cell temperature beyond 60 degrees Celsius, voltage deviation, and the accelerated growth of the solid electrolyte interface layer to mitigate this risk. internationally recognized safety standards such as UL 9540A, IEC 9262619, and NFPA 855 are applied to ensure proper fire propagation testing, abuse tolerance, and safely system spacing. From a technological perspective, real-time battery management system monitoring enables continuous tracking of temperature and voltage with automated alert. Advanced solutions, including immersion cooling system and thermal barriers with integrated fire suppression, further reduce the probability of thermal propagation and ensure safe and reliable BESS operation during emergency condition. Optimal dispatch strategy. This final slide discusses the importance of an optimal dispatch strategy in ensuring effective post-disaster operation of battery energy storage system during emergency condition. The energy management system must dynamically balance load, prioritize battery health, and the variability of renewable energy source. Critical loading tiering is applied to ensure that hospitals and life support services are supplied first, followed by communication infrastructure and essential water system. State of charge management is maintained within the optimal range of 20 to 80%, which has been shown to reduce battery degradation by approximately 30% compared to full deep cycling. In addition, the integration of real-time weather forecasting support adaptive control strategies, improving renewable energy utilization and system reliability. Finally, island mode operation with fast drop-based voltage and frequency control enable sub-50 millisecond response time and N1 fault tolerance, allowing the system to operate independently and reliability during grid outage. That's all the explanation from me. The next explanation will be continued by Mas Adit. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for Miss Tanti Mustari for the opportunity that give to me. So let's jump to the next slide. In this slide, we will present our hybrid microgrid architecture for 72-hour flood recovery, especially for implementation in disaster area like in Aceh and Sumatra. First of all, we will categorize within 3 zones. With number 1 is top area for intelligent that support from BRIN and the weather forecasting led by BMKG. And the next, in the middle area, there are control section via hierarchical EMS drop and the fuzzy logic. And furthermore, in the bottom area are physical layer that elevate PLDS with 85 kilowatt solar array, and then the PLTB with 3.2 kilowatt and 500 kilowatt with FPBSS in NEMA 6P and closer. Moreover, for our concern, we will focus on critical sector that have tiered loads prioritized for hospital at 99% uptime capacity scale for 2 megawatt village to 40 megawatt for communities. And we will jump to the next slide. That in this slide, we will talk about identifies 2026 barrier from Aceh and Sumatra Barat experience. At the beginning, we will found technical challenge with 1 until 2% annual degradation, thermal runaway in humid flood, and the UL 6540A cost with USD 50,000. Afterward, we will move to the operational sector, which is the 3 until 4-month import delay. Only 50 certified technician for the challenge to the operational. And we will jump to the next challenge, that is the regulatory challenge, which is we should have SNE certification that takes 6-month delay, and the emergency should solve urgency. So we need to make it uh, urgency. And the last but not least, it's about the economic that challenge for 2 million per kilowatt with the capex for 8 until 12 years with ROE needs the GATP subsidies. Next, we will jump to the next slide about the future technology that forecast for 5 until 20 years evolution. Within technology challenge, we have the NA-ion that is 20 times cheaper, and the VRVB for 24-hour duration, and the hydrogen fuel cell by 2020 and 35 if we could implement our BSS project. Moreover, for climate change, we will give IPCC project 3-time flood frequency with 1.5 degree Celsius temperature rise accelerate with 500 degradation, and it more effective for Indonesia's security. Furthermore, we could see about geopolitics that could affect it to with 85 lithium import dependency. So it depends on our diversity to local vanadium from our Sulawesi. And we will jump to the next slide about the battery degradation economic topic that we have 20 years LFP life cycle economics. From the table, we could see that in the year the year intent, there is 80% SOH requires, and 4 billion augmentation. After that, in the 20 years, we could have full replacement, and we have 20 billion with 100 megawatt per hour, and this 100% DOD spike costs 58% versus 60. That's mean our EMS cap at 80% SOC, and NPV for 27 until 45 will be discounted. And we will jump to the risk and vulnerability register, and we have the SIG risk rank from the Aceh case in 2025. First of all, we will talk about the critical risk level with main risk about thermal runaway with 27 with 20 with 70% probability that mitigate by immersion cooling. In the other end, the fuel delays has critical risk level 2 with 80%, and we could mitigate via TNE, drone logistic. And in addition, we have a high risk level that contain dispatch failure, which will be solved by EMS and UXP, and the social rejection from battery sigma and battery waste addressed to solve through ESPF recycling demos and community education by academicians in the future. So we will jump in the next slide about the 3-layer thermal for defense protocol. There is a preventive layer with BMS DOD limits, and the next is detective layer with H2 and CO2 gas sensor, and finally about responsive layer with auto shutdown and foam suppression. And this mitigation strategy is thermal runaway safety protocol that running UL 69840A compliance with 750 million investment prevent billion rupiah hospital liabilities in humid sumber condition. And in this slide, we will see about the print drones revolutioning in rural area or 3T response. The aerial GPR scans for 100 meter for survivor, then the ground robot will deliver 50 kilogram BSS stroke floats. Moreover, the aquatic USV deploy floating kits and the solar would be endurance for 24 hours, safe until 10 million or 20% for daily via EMS optimization, and this is very optimistic for our Indonesia strategy. And the next we will jump to the next case study in Tohoku, Japan that happened in 2011. From Tohoku case, we could benchmark, we could learn about Seisuki house that resilient from earthquake, and we could implement it for our BSS that contain 2 megawatt LFP and PLTS. Furthermore, the post-tsunami case study from Tohoku will give lesson learned to us about 99% uptime with 7-day autonomy and 700 kilowatt peak reduction. Moreover, when Japan implement this technology, they could have 4 until 5 year payback. So Indonesia legend, we should elevate mounting with tropical LFP reliability and sub 10-second islanding. So I think that's all from me. And the next chapter should be continue with my partner, Mr. Rizky Permadi. So Mr. Rizky Permadi, the time is yours. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thanks for the times. I will continue the presentation about case study West Sumatra and Aceh 2025 SDI ITB pilot and post-disaster response. SDI ITB pilot on December 2025, location in Batu Buswak temporary flood shelter. System is PLTS, BESS, and Gensec fallback. Load around 50 until 100 families. The result is 72-hour autonomy achieved, genset of 80% of time. The investment is 30 billion rupiah for PLTS, 20 billion for BESS, and 10 billion for EMS. So the total is 60 billion. And then Aceh 2025 flash flood response. Genset deployed 1,000 units, 105 solar fuel supply. The challenge is 5 days fuel supply delay. 20 billions per day per genset operational cost. The opportunity is hybrid base could reduce genset dependency by 50%, mitigating supply delay. And then for 2026 implementation recommendation is scale up around 20 location in West Sumatra, Aceh with 200 kilowatt hour base total capacity. And then TNI and PLN coordination. 2 megawatt emergency kit stock with 24-hour rapid deployment capability. And then expected outcome in 2026 is response time 72 until 24 hours. Genset dependency 100% to 30%. Fuel cost from 20 billion to 6 billion per day. And then the backup strategy comparison, there are 3 policy option for Indonesia. Option 1 is LFC emergency. Duration is 72 hours with PLTS. Cost 2 billion rupiah per kilowatt hour. Life cycle is 5 until 7 years. The risk is thermal runaway. The recommendation is for short term, less than 2 years. And then option 2, there are Na ion costs. The duration is more than 72 hours plus extended. Cost is 1.6 billion per kilowatt. Life cycle is 8 until 10 years. The risk is double LFC degradation. This recommendation is for medium term, around 2 until 5 years. And then the last option is option 3, LFP plus VRFB hybrid for duration 1020 hours full. Cost is 2.5 billion per kilowatt hour blend. Life cycle is 5 until LFP 5 until 7 years old. Flow 15 years. Minimal diversified for the risk. And the recommendation for option 3 is for long term, 5 until 20 years. This is optional. And then there are policy recommendation. There are 4 implementation pillars. First is technology, standardized modular base kit with open source drop control EMS. Safety mandate UL 954 OA for base more than 50 kilowatt hour with LS Pro subsidy 100 billion rupiahs. Integration is for BRIN UXV forecasting API for real-time optimization. Second is regulation. Fast track if emergency SPPT SNI procedure. Pre-certification is approved base prototype. TKDN target 50% local content by 2028. Develop an ion assembly partnership. Third is finance. Blended structure GETP subsidy 30%, Green Sukuk OJK 40%, and private 30%. Risk mechanism is guarantee fund for base replacement. LCOA target for 2026 is 2,000 rupiahs per kilowatt hours. 2030 is 1,500 kilowatt hour, and in 2035 is 1,200 rupiahs. And the fourth one is organization. The institutional is ESDM, TNI, PLN, BRIN with monthly coordination meeting. Training is LSK PLN, 200 certified technician per year, BRIN 2000 UXV operator per year. Pilot program year 1 in 2026, 3 location. Year 2 in 2027, 10 location, and year 3 until 5 is 500, more than 500 megawatt roll out. And then the key stakeholder roles. First, TNI, emergency mobilization, responsibility for logistic deployment, security coordination, operational command for base kit distribution. Second is PLN for grid integration. The responsibility is SLO processing, ONM operation, system management, technician training program. And then SDM for regulation and subsidy. The responsibility is SPPT, SNE fast track procedures, GETP disbursement, policy harmonization. And then Pertamina for energy transition, OPEX financing, HFO biofuel supply chain coordination for hybrid system, and then private vendors for equipment supply. The responsibility is technology transfer, local assembly development, warranty support service. Regional government for community engagement. The responsibility is land acquisition, stakeholder management, O&M operational sustainability. And the last is BRIN for innovation and monitoring. The responsibility is UXV development, forecast API integration, R&D optimization program. And this is the implementation timeline for 2026 until 2035. 2026 is pilot, 3 sites, 50 megawatt hours total. Okay, and then in 2027, scale up for 10 sites. 2028, expand until 50 sites. 2029 until 2030 is consolidated, more than 500 integrated. And 2031 until 2035, mature is net zero integrated, fuel energy independence, and regional export capability. And this is the quantified impact analysis. 24-hour response time reduced from 72 hours, 70% genset reduction, decreased dependency through hybrid-based integration, 365 annual fuel saving, 20 billion per day times 365 days times 50 sites, trillion rupiahs, and 500 base technician, new job create plus 200 UXV operator, 1000 EPC contractor. The energy security impact is 72-hour microgrid autonomy achieved, 50 island capable site with N1 redundancy, 500 megawatt PLTS base by 2035, 99.9% hospital uptime. The environment and social impact, 80% reduction for carbon dioxide versus diesel, 90% battery recycling, 30 villages stable electricity access, 40% reduce import dependency by 2035. Okay, and then the conclusion is base hybrid for rapid post-disaster recovery is not merely an investment in energy technology. It is a fundamental transformation of nation defense that integrate energy independence, disaster resilience, and geopolitical sovereignty. Implementation requires coordinated leadership from the MISTI and Energy and Mineral Resource SDM as the policy lead, the TNI for emergency mobilization, PLN as the grid operator, and the private sector as the technology provider. The strategic implementation window of opportunity lies in 2026 until 2027, coinciding with the momentum of the GETP and the anticipation of increased disaster frequency following the 2025 climate tipping point. Implementation delay will reinforce dependency on diesel generator with exponential cost escalation. Political cost of slowed recovery and reputational loss in disaster response. The 2035 vision envision Indonesia with 500 100 megawatt of integrated base, 72 hours of autonomy per isolate community microgrid, and 80% reduction in carbon dioxide emission compared to the diesel baseline, 90% rock oil battery recycling, and energy export capability for the region ASEAN market. This achievement positions Indonesia as the Southeast Asia leader in disaster resilient energy infrastructure and align with the national commitment toward net zero 2060 and SDG 7. The strategic decision to proceed with option 1, rapid LFP emergency deployment in 2026 and 2027. Option 2, cost optimized scaling for 2027 until 2030. And option 3, for long duration resilient roadmap 2030 until 2045 has become a national imperative. This requires presidential commitment, parliamentary legislative support, RUPTL amendment, and across agency implementation agreement by Q1 2026. Okay, that's all from our group. Sorry for the mistake. And the last, thank you for your attention.